everybody, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Philadelphia Sports with myself, Liam Jenkins, where, as you might have guessed it, we go over everything that's happened this week in Philadelphia sports. Again, if you are new to this channel and you do enjoy this content, it would be amazing if you could hit that subscribe button. Our goal for the year is 30,000 and we need all of your help to make that happen. And to say thank you for all of that support, as always, we will give away a Philly Sports Network t-shirt if this video gets 300 likes. So all you got to do is turn that grey thumb blue and make sure you drop a comment with your thoughts down below. And before we start this video, something a bit wild happened this week where, I kid you not, Lennox Lewis, you know, as in boxer, 3-time world heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis, is a fan of Philly Sports Network. But Liam, how did this happen, you may ask? I'll tell you. David Melandra, our writer, was covering a fight down at Temple, and it turns out that Lennox Lewis was one of the broadcasters for Fox. He walks past and asks David who he works for. David responds Philly Sports Network, and Lennox, while being pushed away by security, turns around and says, "That's a great network, I like you guys." Unbelievable scenes. I'm speechless, absolutely speechless. Before we get to the good stuff and the big debate for today, the Eagles hired Dwight Freeney, Gareth Keenan originally, because The Office US just stole that from the... Hey, what? Assistant to the regional manager, Connor Barwin has rejoined the Eagles. I love the idea. Someone that's going to come in, help those younger guys, really fit in with the culture of Philadelphia. I mean, Barwin has been a Philly guy pretty much since the day he arrived. The work he did in the community, the hustle on the field, that iconic 14.5 sack season. It's great to see him back in the city of brotherly love, helping out with the team. I think he's going to be a great role model for some of those younger players coming. While names like Andy Reid, Mike Kafka, LaShawn McCoy, Raheem Mostert, Stefan Wisniewski will all be playing in the Super Bowl, the task list for the Philadelphia Eagles is a lot more under the microscope with the bigger scheme of things in mind. Just like the week before, last week was filled with nothing but coaching rumours. It was, who's the offensive coordinator going to be? Are they going to sign someone? Who's going to be the wide receivers coach? Will it be a former player like Hines Ward, or just anyone that's played a single game of Madden and understands what a football is? There's been a lot of coaching change in Philadelphia, and if you've been away or you've missed any of the goings on, here are the latest moves to happen. Last week importantly saw the departure of Philip Daniels along the defensive line, which means the Eagles now need a defensive line coach, they need a defensive backs coach, along with a wide receivers coach and an offensive coordinator. So it's a pretty long shopping list for an early stage in the offseason. But while not a lot else happened surrounding the Eagles, and it's a little bit early for me to hypothesize about free agency in the draft, although on that note, guys, please let me know what you want to see. Do you want to see free agent film rooms, or draft breakdowns, or mock drafts, or college film? Whatever it is you want to see, I need you to let me know, because you're shaping this next few months of content. But the Eagles also interviewed a lot of candidates at offensive coordinator. Most recently, USC's Graham Harrell interviewed with the team and then went, nah. And then James Urban from the Ravens interviewed with the team and went, nah. And then Jim Caldwell was reportedly a target and then, nah. And then Kevin O'Connell went elsewhere, and for some reason, offensive coordinators are coming to Philadelphia and they're like, nah. So I started to stroke my imaginary beard, and I've got a bit of a theory as to what needs to happen, because I think the Eagles were at a bit of a crossroads. And I know this isn't the typical This Week in Philadelphia sports format, but I need you to hear me out with this. When Doug Pederson first came on board as a head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, he brought in Frank Reich with him. Now, Reich had been a QB coach with the Chargers since 2013, and then was recently promoted to offensive coordinator. So Peterson knew what he was getting, an experienced coach who could really marinate that young talent that they had in a rookie quarterback of Carson Wentz, and someone that had plenty of experience in getting plays downfield, in scheming up a very efficient passing offense. If anyone plays fantasy football, it's always among the best bang for your buck, unless it was this year, because he wasn't. But Frank Reich was very much a sounding board for Doug Peterson. Peterson still called the shots, he still called the plays, and he still controlled everything. But Frank Reich was the veteran of the Chase Daniel, if you will, to Carson Wentz. And then after Super Bowl 52, all the other NFL teams were purring. They wanted Frank Reich. He went and got the head coaching job he deserved. And Doug Peterson found his coaching identity, didn't really need that voice in his ear, that sounding board, that, hey, is it okay if I do this? Are you sure? That he didn't need that reaffirmation. So in steps Mike Groh, and that went about as well as my last date, where the conversation was so dry I had to bring up conversation starters such as, what's your favourite shade of red? Whether you somehow liked him or despised him or somehow understood the struggles, Mike Rowe is out of Philadelphia. But again, it loops back to one thing. Mike Rowe was not in control. Peterson doesn't need a soundboard. But if we go back and look at what's happening in Kansas City, where you've got Eric Bieniemy calling second half plays for the Chiefs. Have we seen this before? A lot of you will think that Peterson came into Philadelphia without much in the way of play calling history, but he did. He actually called plays in the second half of games after about week 8 in 2015. Andy Reid gave him the reins to raise up a coach. And if you look at the Andy Reid coaching tree, there's a video on that coming soon, so I won't ruin it. It is filled with positional coaches who've become coordinators, who've gone to head coaches. Peter's done a good job at sustaining that conveyor belt from promoting within, but not just promoting within, but helping be a coach's coach. The enemy's calling plays, and then over there you've got Doug Peterson in 2015 calling plays, and notably in that 2015 playoff loss to the Patriots, he called 62 of them. Now in the Eagles offense, Doug does everything. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but as a budding play caller, as a budding offensive coordinator or a head coach, you want to have a significant impact. All we know about the Eagles offensive coordinator is that they script the first 15 plays and must really like ice cream. So let's take the USC offensive coordinator for now, Harrell for example. Let's just say he comes out and he really likes what he sees in Philadelphia, but another NFL team is going to give him play calling, or another NFL team is going to give him more freedom to create and more freedom to shape that offense, as opposed to just going, yeah, you should do that, but you won't because you're going to do your own thing anyway. He's probably going to go over there. And again, this is speculation, but I think this is time now where Peterson has gone from being a kid riding a bicycle with someone behind him, Uncle Frank behind him, just pushing him along, being the stabilizer, just making sure the bike doesn't fall over. He's not that kid anymore. Peterson is a teenager tearing down the streets, doing bunny hops and annoying oncoming traffic and shouting at your neighbour next door. While his little brother is just sulking, looking out the window, thinking that should be me. I wish I could do that. I wish I could play with my big brother. Why won't he let me? And he's not going to want to play. Peterson has to take the knowledge he's got now as someone entering his 5th year as an NFL head coach and pass that on to someone he wants to make an offensive coordinator. Whether it's an inside noise, whether it's outside noise, wherever that influence has come from, he has to allow that room for growth. Give them a passing coordinator. Give them something where they can sink their teeth into and have a real impact and help be molded into the coach you want them to be. They're not necessarily going to jump ship after 2 years. But when we're talking about consistency and the fact the Eagles have gone through wide receiver coaches like I've gone through toxic ex-girlfriends, stability has to be an utmost focus. And I think that it's time for Peterson, from being someone that is so emotionally invested in his players and connects with them so well, to doing the same with the coaches. And I'm not saying he's not already, but I'm saying it makes sense to give them that responsibility, to allow room for growth, to encourage that growth, and to help his coaches have more of an impact, as opposed to saying, this is my ship, ride or die. It is the exact same reason why I despise the idea of Matt Burke being a defensive line coach, given that the Miami defensive line was atrocious in 2017 when he coordinated it. Pip Daniels was a great defensive line coach, and he's just a Schwartz disciple. Like, get an outside influence, allow them to grow and build the next generation. Like, keep that conveyor belt moving. And Doug Peterson has been a branch on the Andy Reid tree. I think now it's time that we snap that branch off, we plant a seed, and we have a Doug Peterson tree. He is entering year 5. He doesn't have to be a branch on a tree. He's got to start making his own destiny now. He doesn't need a sounding board. You should be fending for yourself. You don't need that influence. There's no excuse to leave your coordinator out of those decisions, and I think that could be a reason why this search has taken a little bit longer than expected. I could be wrong. The Eagles could be doing their due diligence. I mean, we are now about a week into the off-season, so it could just be that the length of time, the fact there's no Eagles football, it's driving me mad. It might just be that. But let me know what you think down below, guys. Should Doug Peterson give a little bit more control to his coordinators? Do we need to see him evolve as a head coach to encourage that growth? Or am I just talking twaddle? On to the Philadelphia Flyers. They are 4-5-1 in their last 10 games, and they have got a big game against the Pens on Tuesday. Ooh. It's not just big because it's a rivalry, it's big because they're 6th in the Metro and it's all looking a little bit weird at the minute. Carter Hart's down, although believe it or not, Brian Elliott is 8-4-2 against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and you've got Jake Voracek who has 41 points against the Pens, more than any other team he's ever faced. So if you're a betting man, maybe maybe pick the Flyers. Roman Rubstov, a former first-round pick, was called up by the team today due to an ongoing injury problem that sees the team need that 13th player. He should be a fourth-line centre, maybe get some minutes. He had a stint earlier this year where he had 3 games, averaged around 7 minutes of ice time with the Flyers, but you'd like to see a bit more growth. And after that stint, he went back to Lehigh Valley, skated about a bit, scored a few goals, got a few points, and now I think he's back with a bang, hopefully to make a bit of an impact on the Flyers back end. The Sixers are currently playing a game at the time of recording this, and it wasn't going well against the Nets, so I hope they've turned it around. I just keep seeing notifications going sideways, and I'm trying to not get distracted. At the minute, they're 6th in the East on a 3-win streak, but that could change depending on that game, really. But Furkan Korkmaz has exploded out of nowhere and been the ultimate 6th man that this team need, while Ben Simmons, in the absence of Joel Embiid, has stepped up and been a true leader. And you know what? He may not be the most efficient player, and there may be people trying to trade him for Brandon Ingram on ESPN's trade machine, but the fact is, Ben Simmons is everything the Sixers have needed him to be as of right now. There are still questions around Brett Brown, but when you see that leadership of someone that has been around this team for so long, is typically quite a reserved and quiet guy until he's on the court where his actions are just ferocious and slash through you. It's good to see that side of him, to see him egging the guys on, stepping into that role and really becoming an influential player among the team when Joel's not there. Also, just can we get rid of Al Horford, please? As for the Philadelphia Union, they have signed a new midfielder as they continue to try and implement a new way of playing. And before we get to that, on that note, we will be live streaming the Philadelphia Union's preseason game. A watch along, if you will, for those of you who missed the live streams. They signed Matej Orovec, who played for DAC over in Slovakia. Played in 18 games this season, 21 years old. He's a rapid player. He should fit the system quite well. But we're going to see a lot more Philadelphia Union content coming on this channel. And there will be a Senior Bowl live stream as well for those that are interested. But guys, that brings us to the end of another video. What do you think about today's topics? Let me know down there. From myself, Liam Jenkins, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to me ramble. It does mean a lot. If you want to follow me on Twitter at Liam Jenkins PSN, I'll see you soon.